Margie and Debbie here for Simply Special Crafts, and today we're taking a look at part 2 of Christmas Sparkle. Teddy is present and accounted for. We'll see if we can pry his toy away from with the demonstration. Okay, this one may look a little bit familiar because we also did a class kit on this one. I love this set, and this has proven to be one of the most popular videos of the season. We have over 1,000 views on this video class kit now. This is Under the Tree, and we have 4 nice sized toppers on our topper sheet. We have this beautiful piece of holly, deep green. We've got some snowflakes, we've got some borders, got a lot happening there. And then look at this beautiful piece of cardstock right here. Got all these presents across the bottom, all these snowflakes across the top. Well, keeping with that philosophy that if we use an A6 card, we can get multiple cards out of one sheet of cardstock. We got a lot of cards out of this kit. Let's take a look. First up, let's take a look at one of our larger cards. This one's done on a 5x7. Took the cardstock from right here.
Such a pretty
covered
border.
It's gorgeous. You just have so much happening there in that background. And in fact, because we had so much happening in the background, I just really didn't think we needed to do a lot to this one. So I just let the cardstock do its work, and I took the topper set, broke it into 3 pieces, put them on foam squares, glued it flush, put it on foam squares. We tied a beautiful red-blue bow out of that woven iridescent, put a Merry Christmas tag on it, said, that's good, stop there. All of the rest of my cards from this set are done on European A6. And let's go to this one next. This one is taken from the deep green side of my cardstock. Because it was deep green, it needed a little more of something. So I cut my layering sheet just slightly smaller, and I covered my European A6 card in gold Maryboard. I wrapped a ribbon around my layering piece before I secured it to my card so that I could secure the ends of my ribbon underneath. I broke my topper set into 3 pieces on foam squares, glued flush, back on foam squares. I tied myself a red-blue bow to put at the bottom, and I put one of my toppers on foam squares across the ribbon on the top.
Now, when you go to the YouTube and look at the class, you don't end up actually seeing how to tie these beautiful bows. So that's in another class.
It is in another class. We have several YouTube videos using the Embellishment Attic Bow Maker. I recommend that you look at one of the later ones because these fancier bows have really been a development in recent months. And so some of my earlier YouTube videos don't show the 515 and some of my fancier bows that we're tying now. So be sure you look at one of the more recent YouTube videos. Okay, I want to show you the layout of here to see how we got so many cards from this. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here is... We have 2 of the same.
Do you have 2 of the same cards again?
Yep, and we're missing one. We're going to have to take a stop and find our other card. Because we should... Oh, wait, no, this is it. This is it.
This goes here.
Yes.
And
yes.
that goes there.
You're right. Never mind. Okay.
It's a puzzle.
Okay. Thank
We
you.
can't do 4-piece puzzles around here.
No, the 4-piece puzzle is too much. Okay. All right. Am I back on?
You've been live.
I've been live. Okay. All right. So we have a total of 4 cards done from 1 sheet of cardstock. These 2, we're just going to cut this in 4 pieces. And because this one is covering the card, I'd actually recommend cutting this piece first and cutting this to the size of a European A6. sometimes when you go to cut these, there's just a little bit of difference. And so you'll notice I used mirror board behind both of these. That just makes up for any slight variations that I may have lost in cutting. But I covered my card. I popped my topper on there. This is a 2-piece topper. I certainly could have made this a shaker card if I wanted to. Instead, I just kind of gave it a window frame kind of look by recessing the actual center of the card, putting this one up on foam squares, giving it a little foam under the tag. Called it good. This one is an A6 that's covered in gold mirror board. I used this little corner flourish from Sticker King, and I added a jewel to the center here, and then I used my little Merry Christmas. These are the tiny Merry Christmases, and I'll have to link that in the newsletter. I don't recall which one that is now. But I used my tiny Merry Christmas and a jewel on top, and I kind of stacked those to try and kind of look like a Christmas tree on the other side. And then, just for fun, I put a rhinestone every other dot on my round frame and raised the center up on some foam squares. I think this is a fun and pretty little card.
This is so delicate and so fine in writing and font, but what I like about it is that when you did your Christmas tree, it gave you the symmetry that you're looking for, because if you look here, they're literally at the same spot in height. And so
actually,
it really filled it well.
I filled this one last because I looked at this and I really liked this, but this part of the card was just missing something, and that's why I chose that corner and put the rhinestone in the center to kind of try and tie it together.
Neat trick.
Okay. In each case, with these two, I've covered my A6 card in mirror board, cut my topper slightly smaller. Sometimes when I want just a little bit of something and I don't want a lot, I'll use 3 dazzles or I'll use 3 rhinestones. And that's what I've done here, just to kind of give it just a little something to fill that corner. I put my Season's Greetings on, which is I think this is from, I'm not sure, this might be from Merry Merry Christmas. It's from one of the dazzle sheets. I'll link it in the newsletter. And on this one, I have done exactly the same thing. I've covered my European A6 with gold mirror board. I've cut my layering sheet just slightly smaller to show off my mirror all the way around. I've put this up on some foam squares, and this really filled the space nicely, but I wanted to add just a little extra, so I took some of my red Nouveau and put over some of the berries, just for something fun to do. We got 6 cards from that set. This is a set that I referred to as the Headless Barbie Dolls.
Now,
When I was showing this on What's New Wednesday, and some of you have said, clearly there's a story here that needs to be told. So I will tell you my story. When my sister and I were small, it was just the two of us. We were only 15 months apart in age, so we were pretty much into the same toys at any given point in time. My sister had decided that she was kind of over the Barbie dolls, and I was kind of over them too, but we had some ornery little neighbor kids that used to come to our house and just tear up our toys for fun. And when they were there one day, they popped the heads off most of our Barbie dolls, except one. That one they stuck in a paint can upside down before they went home. Now, I wasn't terribly upset about the headless Barbie dolls, other than the injustice of it, somebody coming and tearing up our toys. But I must have been scarred for life, because anytime I see one of these models that's done without, you know, the mannequins in a store, or a dress model where they don't put the head in, and I automatically think headless Barbie dolls. So when I saw this set and Margie said, "What would you like for me to work on?" I said, "You can do the headless Barbie dolls." I didn't want to do them. She did an amazing job.
So this topper set, it was called All Dressed Up, and I will say that some of the print on this is very bold. If you look, this is basically it looks like somebody had taken glitter and put it on paper and then they took a picture of it and blew it up. That's really what it looks like to me. And so trying to make this soft, but also maybe have a little bit of fun with it. I tried to give it some elegant pieces, but then also kind of tried to give some areas of it, especially with the mesh and the mesh here, almost kind of a rocker type style.
I think you came up with some really fun, playful styles for these cards. I was amazed.
So this is our first one, and I used black cardstock, Rainbow Mary, and if you notice, I just got a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. And part of that is because I only had so much room on my left of paper, and so I wanted to make sure that I got what I needed. So to make it a little smaller gave me, this was, I believe, my last one, so I was just trying to make sure that I didn't leave it in too small of a card.
So when you say you went smaller and smaller, I'm not sure what you meant.
Here's your black card,
okay,
black cardstock, then you've got your Rainbow Mary, and then you got your regular cardstock.
So your layering pieces were
yeah,
smaller.
so I tried it, so normally it's usually a 2-layer piece, and in this particular case it went 3 just to kind of bring it in. It also, I kind of thought that this really looked like a frame with a mat with a picture. I took some holographic dazzles, put them right up here, and then this is a border piece that has some rays to it, and it gives a lot of shine, and I thought that that looked just perfect on there with the Rainbow Mary. And it's one of our border pieces from...
I think it's going to be one of the dazzle borders. And I don't know how many of the silver dazzle borders we have left, but we do have those double stick dazzles. You could always add any color glitter you wanted to them and get that same effect.
Yeah. And then I went through with my quickie pen and actually took any of the red snowflakes, and actually, they weren't red snowflakes. If you look right here, they're little tiny stars. And they look more like stars than snowflakes. And I just went ahead and I filled those spaces and made them into little red glitter pieces. And
I like the way you did that because it really brought some color in.
Yeah. So then I took little tiny holographic dazzles and put them in the center of each of these, again, to kind of brighten that piece up a little bit and give it some sparkle and shine.
Beautifully done.
This is our chunky glitter section of our card topper. And this is a Gatefold that's a 6x6. And with it, I took the chunky glitter and I cut it into 2 halves. Then I took some black mirror board. Actually, I think that this is the matte black.
Okay. And you could do it with either the glossy or matte.
And then I took some of our ribbon that actually looks like, if you look at this side here really quick, it kind of looks like poinsettias. So
it's a 2-inch ribbon strip, and we have those. I believe we have those now available in the store, sold by the 1 or 2 yard back, and
it's by Mary Arts, right?
May Arts, yes.
Arts. And it's one of the new products with all these beautiful bows that you see in the 2 different colors that we've been doing with our sets. I then just sparkled up our topper. I left it flat. I didn't want to make it into sections going up because I felt like I already had quite a bit of layering here. And it also makes it easier to make a flat piece. I did put the glitter on the inside of it so that it would hold that, because it really truly is 3 pieces here. So you want to make sure that you give it the backing that it needs.
You know, I think what you did here just... I'm hearing what you're saying about this being just so bright as to almost be distracting, but what happened when you took your strips of black and then wrapped that ribbon around it, the fabric itself created a softness to this topper it didn't have before, and this really complemented without taking away, but it did kind of tone down the harshness of this paper too. So it was really inspired to use that ribbon around a piece of cardstock to create that impression. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Little red dazzles and Aurora Borealis. You've got to have a little bit of shine right there on your necklace, right?
Absolutely.
This is another piece of, this is the Black Miri on this paper. And what I did was I went through and I ran it through our Snowflake embossing folder from Creative Expressions. And it really gave it a little bit of a pop and a great texture because it's just tiny and all over, and it's unexpected because, you know, usually you see snowflakes and they're white, and this gives it that little bit of gleam to be able to use with this topper. And I used this topper with border, and I used the holographic dazzle stars throughout, because this one was full of little stars on both the border right here and in this little topper set. So I wanted to make sure, kind of like what you did with your ribbon, I wanted to make sure that that border really kind of stood out. So I took my, I didn't run it all the way up. I took two pieces and put one at the bottom and one at the top so that I wasn't wasting my border, because I probably wanted to use it for something else.
You changed your color of your Merry Christmas with alcohol marker?
I sure did, and that is one of the Sticker King ones, and it's just one of those tricks that I use a lot, of choosing my alcohol markers to kind of give it the exact color that you want. So if it's not exactly what you want, guess what? You can change it just a little bit, and it makes it lots of fun. This one is a 7x7. There is a little bit of a story here at the shop about 7x7 cards. Debbie apparently likes them a lot and over orders them on a regular basis. And Brittany is ready to take those 7x7s and find a new place for them, a new home.
She told me she was going to box them and put them on my bed.
So I said that I would use a 7x7 so that people could see a way that you can use it, and you can see that it didn't break down the ability to waste your cardstock on just one piece of paper. Because if you add some things to it, it can really make it a big difference. So basically, I just went and I butted this up against some Rainbow Miri. And I used some leftover snowflake acetate from our black dark wreath toppers that we showed in video number 1, and I placed it here. And remember how I talked about using your acetate so that your glue doesn't shine? Because of the Miri and because of needing to butt it and keep it smooth so it won't peel up, that Best Glue Ever is hidden right smack in the middle of each of these. But what is really interesting is that because of the Rainbow Miri behind it, it actually makes it look like it has little stickers in the middle. So it turned out really great. 3 acetate snowflakes, and a little topper. It says, sending all the Christmas sparkle you need for a fabulous festive season. And so what should you do with fabulous and sparkle? Well, you add a little fabulous sparkle bow right to it. That is the
dark silver.
The dark silver and what do they call
woven iridescent ribbon. Quarter inch.
Yep. And it turns out beautiful. Now, when Debbie said, I think that I'd like for you to do the headless Barbie one, I will tell you that before she ever said it, I already knew what I wanted to do with this, because I just saw the picture and I went, haha, well, that's a DL card waiting to happen. But it also is a DL card waiting to have a little bit more fancy-pantsy to it. So basically, it's just a cut straight from there. I did make it a little bit smaller to give it the gold border all the way around. And if you look, it's a wider border than normal. You wouldn't normally have that wide, but I did not want this to go to where the red glitter became such a big piece of it. So it was something that I wanted to make it so that your eyes really noticed the dress, because when you walk into a room, everyone is supposed to notice the dress. So this says, "'Tis the season to sparkle." And so I took double-sided sticky tape and I ran it through and literally just went through and folded and made little pleats all the way along. So you just fold and you pleat and you press. And then I went back through because we found that just the finger lift tape wasn't enough to hold it down. So I went back through and I put in a little bit of Best Glue Ever underneath these spaces. And this is 3 layers of ribbon. So there's a pleat here and you start at the bottom and then you work your way up and it fills. It looks like you're not gonna have enough. Oh, how is it gonna do that? But by doing your pleats and it's just literally a fold, 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 and you then lay it down into 3 sections. It's not sticky. You're not going to feel it through the card. It's not going to stick to your envelope. It does a really great job. From there, I took just a little tiny bit of gold metallic ribbon and placed it there as the band. So I did get rid of this red ribbon, and just because of the fact that it didn't make a lot of sense once I started adding in these things. Because of the thickness of this, you have to hide the top, and so that's why the ribbon is there. I took some double-sided sticky tape, the kind that we use for doing our glitter
Our painting with glitter.
Yes, our painting
project.
with glitter project with the doilies. I took some of that tape and I went through and I made a little pattern of the dress size and then cut that out onto double-sided sticky tape, put the double-sided sticky tape down, rub some ultra-fine red glitter in there, and now she has a beautiful sparkling bodice. And some red dazzles in the middle, and definitely cannot miss the shoes. Look at the difference of putting those dazzles on the shoes, and they are the tiniest dazzles, so yes, they were in my hair, and I think that I found one on my leg later on that evening. And so yeah, they're the little tiny ones. Use your tweezers, it's a good idea.
And you also put an iridescent rhinestone up here for her necklace, which I thought was just the finishing touch, because accessorize, right?
Exactly.
We have Father Christmas, which is kind of a Scandinavian Santa scene, one where he's carrying the wreath with him. They've got 2 large toppers and a smaller circle. We've got this beautiful border treatment on both sides. And we have a Santa here. Let's see what we did with these. With this tall one, I immediately thought DL because it really needed a tall card to carry that off. So I covered my background with this cardstock and I broke that into 3 pieces. I put my label down here, tried to catch a piece of the moon there so that we could kind of honor the original artwork, and glittered things up a little bit. Just touches of glitter on that wreath I thought were a nice little touch. I did put a little bit of glitter surrounding Santa's hat and cape and his beard, but I thought that turned out pretty. With the square topper, I created a gatefold card with using this paper on both sides. And then I used a piece of my back. I think I used it out of here. It could be just black. I think it's actually just black cardstock, guys. I took the frame, I put it in front of some black cardstock, and then I turned my my centerpiece on side to create this kind of diamond-shaped topper.
I love
Here's-
when you do that. It
Here's
just gives it
and
a
this is
unique
the
way of
first
doing
time.
things.
This is the first time I backed that with something, and I just thought that turned out great. And we've got a beautiful sage bow, that blue and sage, that light blue and sage. They just work so well on so many of these cards. I love that. And this was actually my newest bow style, where I have double long loops and then the shorter loops on my bow. So look at my last bow making video to see how to tie that. But I love the way this one turned out. I just thought this was really, really pretty. It has such a nice sense of balance to
And
it.
then you have your surprise on the inside too, I believe.
Oh, I sure do. Right here under the flap. It says, may all your wishes come true on the inside. And I always just stick something on the right-hand side under that flap because it just must be done. It just must be. Here's the corner of my cardstock. Just a European A6 card, slightly smaller layer, brought my sentiment up. By the time I got done glittering the wreath, I just thought, that's all it wants. And I stopped there.
And it's such beautiful artwork.
And finally, this could very easily have been a shaker had I chosen to make it one. Here's my little topper. I just made it a frame instead, so it's as if I'm looking almost through a porthole at Santa and his wreath. And I had a little piece of border left, so I brought that down under this packet. This one I'm tying with the brown and olive. This was not as popular a ribbon with our customers, but take a look at how beautiful that looks with this woodland kind of Santa.
I love
It's
this.
a perfect color.
This was the first color I actually bought.
Yeah,
Well,
it's-
except for I think that I tried ordering the blue and sage a few times and it kept selling out. What I really like about these guys, and this is one of the things that I enjoy, is the idea that this has more brown. And if you flip it over, and so if you tied it the other direction, it would actually have more green to it. So I really like how they play. They really play with the light.
A lot of times, just for interest, I will take a border and run down the center of my card or run vertically across my card just to add an additional element of interest. If you're not doing a lot to the card, that can really just kind of create just a slightly artsy effect. 3 snowflakes, my little topper. That's all it needed.
So cute. This is called Our House to Your House, and I really love the reds and the blues in this. It was a lot of fun to do. I really like this one.
Margie negotiated with this one. She said, I'll do the headless Barbie doll if you'll let me do the doorways.
Yeah. I love the borders on this. It just was so pretty, and it just was pop. It was a beautiful pop, and I really like the lightness of it, especially after doing a lot of the work with the dark one. It was kind of fun to do 2 opposite kinds of coloring. And then this is our little extra house picture. Light snowflakes, snow blues, and then some navy and red on the side. So this is my first card, and you know, a lot of times we go with the DLs here on the side, but I thought, and I do like the DLs, I really do, so you'll probably find them in a lot of my things. But this time around I thought, why not do it a little differently?
Sure.
And so I took the border off of this side,
I think that's beautiful.
like that. And then I also took the border off down here. This gave me a really nice strip for being able to use for something else with the other print as well. And so I didn't end up cutting into both of them. I felt like it had a good enough border with just that. And then this is a Happy New Year sticker from the same kit that the other ones are that we're going to have to look up the sticker name to, but I believe that it is a dazzle. And so I added my ribbon. I did wrap it on each side, so it's wrapped underneath the card on each side.
So you put that on before you put your your layering sheet on your card.
I did, and so it looks a little tricky because you think that this is underneath the frame of your card, and then you've got your bow that you somehow magically pulled to the front. Well, no, I just put a little border underneath and then added my bow to the top, and so it makes it look really intricate because you can still see, if I move my bow out of the way, you can still see that border all the way through. And then I just took and made the asymmetrical with the square side and top. And I just used foam squares on this piece and on this piece. When I did this piece, I glued it to the frame that already had the foam squares on it to help it give it that pop, but keep it flat so that it won't accidentally bend up or pull up with time.
Beautiful. Love that one.
This one is our topper here. I took out the silver piece in the middle and I put in my border pieces. These border pieces were a little bit different, and so I literally took my,
Isn't this some of the, that's some of the Snowfall Mirror?
Yeah, yes it is. So it is the Snowfall Mirror along with this border right here put down the middle. So it actually has a double border.
Nice.
And so it was, the idea was that it could be, that you could use several different things in one. And part of the reason is because I used quite a bit in this last card of our card stock. So I ended up having to use some extras. This paper is from the free insert papers that come with the crafting magazine. And so those are the pieces. And I thought, in honor of the cats, the mini cats that now live at Debbie and Bryce's house, that I would have to put the Dazzle kitty right there, because what cat doesn't hang out and look at their house on a regular basis and go, do I want to go in? Do I want to go out? Do I want to go in? Do I want to go out?
And the answer is always yes. Yes, yes, I want to go in. Now I want to go out. Now I want to go in. Now I want to go out.
Exactly.
Especially our black cat.
Now, I know that I've shown the ripple effect with the ribbons, but in this particular ribbon, I actually twisted and put my Best Glue Ever on upside down so that it gave you the difference between the two colors of ribbon.
That's nice.
I don't think that I would have done that with any ribbon, with most ribbons, but I did do it with this just because it kind of catches the light.
Kitty.
Oh, speaking of kitty cats.
Yes, we have been sitting at the door, tantalizing the dog. The very same I want in, I want out cat.
This one, I took the actual lower section right here of that. And then I took and I used some of that little scrap that I had left of the pearlescent that I used from the ballerinas, and I just kind of made it and gave it a little hillside snow scene, because I'd already used this portion somewhere else.
Okay.
And this was on the side, and I really liked the effect that this gave. So
Great
I
idea.
just put in my own. I used, can't put it right side up apparently. I used this topper and I went through with my craft knife, and I actually took and ran a cut line right through here. I used our Memory Keeper's ruler, metal ruler on the magnet board because I did not want it to move. And so it really holds it down so that I can make that straight line without it moving anywhere. And I really liked that. And it made a sharp, nice cut so that you can have a little trick inside. And that is a Sticker King tree. And I've added little Aurora Borealis rhinestones to it, so it does stick out just a little bit, which helps a person notice that there's actually an opening here when they open up your card from their envelope. And I did, again, I colored those stickers and the Aurora Borealis with the alcohol markers.
So you colored both the tree, which is silver,
Yes.
in the green, and then you colored the rhinestones as well. Isn't that
Yeah.
just the cutest thing you guys have seen?
And then this is a dazzle little star on top, because you always need a star on the top of your
Gotta
tree.
have a star.
And then I've got just some glitter on each of the side trees.
Your little doorknob here, is that a rhinestone that you've covered with glitter?
I was just about ready to
Oh,
say
sorry.
something about that. No, perfect question. It's a brad.
Oh, okay.
From one of our brads that we have down in the store. And I
Okay.
actually clipped off the brad portion and just gave it some extra glue and glued it right on, because
Okay.
it was the perfect color, the perfect amount of shine, and
Got
I
it.
really liked it.
Yeah, that's adorable, Margie.
Now I wanted to do the whole cut in the house for this one right here, but it was just too tiny, just too tiny. And so I just took it and put it right from the card right here, took it along. This is a 7x7 or an 8x8. I think it's a 7.
7x7.
See, I told Brittany that I would do a couple of 7x7s. So this is a 7x7. I felt like this house, if you tried to take it, is big enough that if you don't give it a little bit of a bigger card, but then what do you do with the rest? And so I went through and I took, I lined the inside with that free insert paper on the inside with the poinsettias.
That's pretty.
And because of that, it gave me a background right here for the front, because they're double-sided.
Okay, fun.
And I ran my piece of border that, remember, I told you I needed to find something to do with this section, because I had borrowed this section. I literally took our border right here, and I took the other section that was left, and I ran it through the moonstone poinsettia corner.
Okay, fun.
And I ran it right through the actual border piece. So it was a lot of fun to be able just to bring those out. And then I ran it again. There are sections of the moonstone that have little pieces for you to add to it, and I ran those through glitter.
Okay.
And then I added them. So you can actually come in here, and then I put a acetate snowflake right up front, and I'm going to take it off because it's got best glue, so I can put it back on. You've got the glitter, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but the moonstone dies. I love these poinsettia dies that they have.
Sure do have veining.
They have veining through them, which you don't necessarily see on a lot of other dies that are out there. And you can see it again in the corners. I think it actually shows up better in the border than in the glitter. And so because of that, you can actually make these three-dimensional. If you know that these aren't going to go in an envelope, I don't know about you, but half the time I make mine so perky that I don't even have an envelope. I just hand them the card. And then I use dazzles here, there, and everywhere to kind of add some berries. The berries are there in the poinsettia corner die, so you really want to kind of highlight that, especially since it's a white space. And then I took the leaves as well. And again, it's glitter, so you probably can't pick it up on the screen, but it's got some nice layering and veining in those too. And I really love how they work. And doesn't that look really pretty when you bend them to give it that three-dimensional look?
Absolutely.
And then you can still, even with the three-dimensional look, put your little, whoops, wrong way. Put your little silver instead of gold snowflake right over the top, and it just gives it that extra little gleam and glimmer. And that
Very
is
clever.
the last one that I
Very
did out of this
clever.
set.
It's called Christmas Blessings, and of course I would like this one. Of course I would gravitate toward it, because look at the beautiful purples and blues, guys. I had to do it. It just had to. It had to be. This one has two good-sized toppers and then a number of small pieces and small toppers. But look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Look at her
I
over
love
the
the
city.
foiling on this one.
So pretty. Now we've got quite a lot of gold foiling up in her wings and around, some gold in the nativity star, and then just stars. So pretty.
Has a really good galaxy effect with the different colors.
And then we've got the town of Bethlehem on both borders here. These little star treatments down the side and this beautiful mixed color border in between. First card comes from this corner. And it did have a lot of beautiful foiling in it. I just didn't do a lot to this one, guys. I took a 5x7, I covered it, and I brought my topper in, and I just thought there's a lot happening here already, and I just let the cardstock speak for itself. So I added my Joy to the World topper on some foam squares, and I called it good. I did run just a little bit of glitter around the halo on the angel and the wings, because I thought that we just wanted to kind of celebrate those elements just a little bit.
And it makes it look
And
translucent.
a little bit here.
Like the wings are translucent. It really,
Yes.
by having that glitter, it gave it.
A little bit of glitter here, a little bit of glitter here, and then just literally a single line around the wings and around the halo. I took this piece out of the center here. I love the colors together. Oh, I just thought the colors played so nicely with this big topper that once again I didn't do a lot to it. I covered my 5x7 with gold. I cut this layering piece down with a generous border around the outside because I just wanted a little bolder pattern. In this particular topper, the center section is pretty bold, and I thought this would play nice with this. Put it up on foam squares, glued it down, put it up on foam squares under the Christmas blessings greeting. That's it. I didn't even do any glittering on this one, although I could have glittered the same elements and they would be classy too, but I thought it was
really
beautiful
pretty.
just as it is. Next up, this time I'm using a 6x6. This time I took a piece of this background of the city as my card base, and I used my large topper in the center. I put the word joy here with a few little stars, 3 stars here, a star below and off to the side of joy here. I popped my frame into 2 pieces, or 3 pieces. I took the center section out and I just let this outer frame and the inner frame show the city through. And I put this up on some pretty high foam squares this time. I'm thinking these are 3x3 foam square, or 3 millimeter. That's what I'm trying to say. 5x5 by 3 millimeter foam squares on this one. I love the colors. Colors are spectacular.
Can you tell me what you did here? I can see some gold popping out right underneath. Did you play with one of maybe your toppers?
Oh, you know what I did do? Thank you. I don't even know that it shows. I'm not sure you would have to because I'm not even sure that it shows. I
do see
the
it.
frame. I took the frame piece from in between and I turned it on corner. So you
That's a
kind of
neat
end up
idea.
with some little crossbars here. I'd actually forgotten I did that, but that's exactly what I did. Is I took the inside frame and turned it on
love
edge.
it because when we're looking at these and we do these where you can see the background to bring out the background, this gives it a different look and still gives it the gold shine. I like that idea a lot.
Thank you.
Never would have thought of that, ever.
Okay.
And that's why you earn the big bucks.
Yeah. Did you hear that, honey? We earned the big bucks. And we all laugh because you're giving me the 0 sign. Here's the 5x5 Gatefold card. And You know, I haven't done a lot of gatefolds where I've been using these smaller toppers, but I've done it a couple times in Craftaganza this year, and I'm really liking letting some of these backgrounds really show in the gatefold. So my gatefold elements are coming from here, and from here I'm using one of my small toppers, and it doesn't look like a small topper because it has, you know, these stars coming up and down. So I think that's really pretty together. And then I used my final smaller topper on the inside. Once again, you guys have insert paper. It would be really beautiful if we had the city here.
I know there were
insert.
several times, if you can't tell from all the insert papers in the magazine that I used.
Well, I'm done whining about inserts because we're almost done with our Craftaganza videos. I now have them in stock, and you may see a few inserts in the Festive Memories collection because that's all we have left by the time that I got my inserts. But this would be really stunning if we had the soft city behind her. And her profiled in the foreground. That would be really beautiful. Okay. This has been part 2 of Christmas Sparkle. Margie and I just counted them. We have 23 cards from part 2. So we had the 23 from part 2, the 24 from part 1. We had 47 cards from the Christmas Sparkle Craftaganza set.
I think we had fun with this set.
We had a lot of fun with this set. In fact, I have to admit, I think this was my favorite this time, the Christmas Sparkle, of all the kits. But you know, there's something wonderful about each one of them. This just happens to be the one that just really spoke to me. So
This year. You haven't done any of the
I haven't, you know.
ones.
This is the more stylized cards in Craftaganza are known as their elegant set. And that usually is not my top favorite. This year, my top favorite, so go figure.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Bye.